Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. My name is Samantha from Starkey Farmstead. So you guys, first off, it is storming here in South Louisiana, and I am so thankful for it, but I am soaking wet. Second, let's talk about Lahaina real quick and the children. All right, so there was 3,001 Lahaina school age students registered for the 2023-2024 school year in Maui County. 2,746 of those children have been accounted for, which means their parents have registered them either in a new school, homeschool, or online, okay? Now, if you do your math real quick, that leaves you 252 children still legally unaccounted for. Now, from the beginning, the children is what has always got me involved in the Maui situation. It was not what kept me going back. But I felt like a video needed to be made to clarify. So when you're watching people on YouTube and they're trying to convince you that 2,200 children were taken, this right here should convince you that they have not been. The numbers have always been a discrepancy with the school board, but legally they have located 2,746 of the original 3,001 children. But where are the other 252? If you've been watching my videos, especially the one where all the people are talking about the water wars, and the woman talks about, I think, it was a gentleman. The gentleman talked about how his children had lost school-age friends. If you look at what Governor Green says, there are only 3 children that died in this fire. It is a lie. I also told you guys that I had a very reliable source, and I mean very reliable, that told me there are over 300 bodies of Hawaiian ancestry in a cooler from the Lahaina fires that they are not claiming died. They're basically trying to hide them. And that is because there is an old legal document that says if so many people perish in an event that is man-made, Hawaii reverts back to the people. So there is a reason why the government does not want those 300 bodies counted. How many of those bodies may be children, I do not know. I can tell you this, there are still 252 children not accounted for on any legal document. So if you're from the Maui area, you lost a child, your friend lost a child, your neighbor lost a child, I'm not asking you to blare it out to the world because that is a hurtful thing. However, we need you to understand that your government is lying to the world about the death of your children. Now, I'm going to drop my email in here, and if anybody would like to reach out to me, please do so. Because I've been to Maui twice now, and I've yet to have a parent call me and say, hey, my child perished, and they did not claim them in the fire as somebody that died, and that bothers me. So it has always led me to lean toward the fact that less children perish than people on the internet with no knowledge, with never speaking to a victim, with never going to Maui, were claiming. And I always had a problem with that. Because here's my thing. You're making a huge claim to say 2,200 children came up missing, but you've never left the comfort of your home to go to Maui and find these children or find anything out about that. You're making hundreds and thousands of dollars on videos where you're just linking together a bunch of conspiracies, but you're not following through for your viewers to see if those conspiracies have any truth behind them. Now, as a Christian, a homesteader, and a mother who has children who are living on an island without her, that is a problem for me. Now, I know I made a lot of enemies because the first time I went, I quickly was like, okay, there are no missing kids. And I told y'all then, a lot of people couldn't understand how quickly I had made up my mind. But you were sitting at home and I was on Maui. When my husband and I went back to work on the forms, to document what was going on, to speak at the budget meeting, again, I tried to comfort people with the knowledge that there were no missing children posters anywhere. That there was no protest. I mean, there's a Lahaina fishing protest going on, where people have cast a line into the ocean and pitched a tent, and they refuse to move until the housing situation gets worked out. And I don't blame them. But if they'll do that for housing, don't you think they would do that for missing children? So I know there's a lot of people that just want to cling to this because, well, I don't know why. But for the ones of us who really want truth and light and justice, there are still 252 kids that the government cannot legally locate. Now, I would venture to say probably 40% of those, their parents just said crap on you and just simply pulled their kids and have no contact with the government, which is their legal right. This is still America. But for the other 60%, I hate to say it, but I believe they perished. And that hurts my heart. Now, moving on. On November 7th of 2023, the Army Corps of Engineers was granted a $53.7 million base temporary grant money to build a temporary elementary school for the Lahaina area. Now, notice I said temporary, and from what I'm understanding, they can add things into this base amount of $53.7 million, which means they can get more money for other projects and link it into the school. It's a lot of money to build a school. I'm just saying. I wonder what they're really going to do with it. Then there's a $150 million fund set up, and I'm going to clip in a newscast that I just heard where the state representative Diamond Garcia is talking about this $150 million fund. It is not for all the victims. It is for victims who lost family members or were injured in the fire. But if you accept the money, it is basically hush money. And from what I understand, you can get up to $1 million. But if you accept it and they ever prove that this was intentional or that the police intentionally blocked people or that Governor Green had made sly little deals with the UN to clean up Lahaina so he can have his 15-minute city, or that the Maui Land Corporation lied about Manuel and the water situation, if it ever gets laid at anyone's feet, you're going to lose your ability to sue them if you accept money from this fund. Now, for a lot of us, we understand that if you go into a legal battle with the state, the federal government, or a huge company like the Maui Land Corporation, you're going to be fighting for generations. Go back and watch my video on the homestead lawsuit for the Hawaiians. People died waiting for that money. That court battle went on for 20-something years, almost 30 years. So if you're young, you might want to stick it out. But if you're already in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, you're probably going to settle. And I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you at all. But this just goes to show you how snaky the situation is in the Lahaina and the Maui fires, because they're willing to offer people up to $1 million, but you have to promise you won't sue. And you're losing your ability to get more money later on if any actual evidence comes forward. But guys, I'm going to tell you now, like I said, I've been there twice. People don't want to talk about it. It's an island. It's not a mainland. So don't be so judgmental. I know what you're thinking. Oh, I would talk. No, you probably wouldn't. Because there, where are you going to go? If you need to get away from the police, if you make enemies of the wrong people, where are you going to go on an island? And getting off the island takes an identification. So you're easy to track. It's not like getting in your car and just driving. Or borrowing a stranger's car. Or buying a car with $500 on the back street somewhere in a city and then just taking off and nobody knowing who you are because you can blend in on the interstates. It's not like that. It's an island. 2 ways on, 2 ways off. It's very different. You can't get away from your enemies. You can't get away from anything that you said out of anger or hurt or anything else. People are very private on Maui because they can't get away from each other. And everything that you do, somebody's watching you. That's why I said you couldn't move kids in buses down those roads. And people literally thought I was saying you couldn't move a school bus down the roads. Well, that's dumb. They do it all the time. What I'm saying is somebody would have seen something. If bodies have washed up on other islands against the fact that the currents don't work that way, somebody would have took a picture. There comes a point where everybody loves a good story. Everybody loves a good conspiracy, including myself. But if I'm going to follow a rabbit hole, I either need to get the carrot or get the heck back out of the hole. And I think at this point, that's where we're at. There were no kids stolen, but there were kids that died. And people are literally being paid to not sue who's really at fault. So I'm just saying, a little food for thought there. Hey, my Maui friends. A lot of you have been emailing and texting. Who knows when we'll come back? Hopefully, the third time when we go back, we will have it set up where we'll be able to work the entire time building homes for people. Because if I go back, that's what I'm doing this time. I'm physically manual laboring to build homeless people homes because their homes burned. Because if you came to Louisiana, that's what I would ask you to do. I am going to try to fit in my very busy schedule today, doing the video on how much money we fundraised the second trip and how we spent it. Now, anybody that knows me knows that's going to be done on the membership end only, but you're welcome to buy the lowest level at $4.99, watch the video, and drop your membership if you don't want to keep it up. So that's up to you, but I will be trying to get that video out for you guys today. God bless you. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because the one thing about Storky Farmstead is I'm not going to be swayed by bullying or death threats or anything else like I got the first trip, by hate mail or anything. I'm going to tell you the truth, or I'm going to tell you my opinion of the truth, whether I think you like it or you don't, whether you subscribe or you unsubscribe, because it's never been about the money for me. So keep very careful when you're watching YouTube channels who you're listening to, because for a lot of those people, they have no job but that. And I've even had people say stuff like, you better be careful, you might lose your job. Funny thing, you guys, I work for myself. I work for my husband and I work for God. So nobody's firing me at Storky Farmstead. Though sometimes on really rainy days like today, I almost wish I could get sent home, like, okay, you did a crappy job today. You got to take a couple of days off. A couple of days off would be nice. But I've got to get busy. I've got a lot to do today. Got to make some phone calls and this video and whatnot. But enjoy this last little bit of information we'll put on here from Fox News. And oh, by the way, the video on the meat that I did being fake or real, they redlined it. They didn't take it down, but they will not allow me to be paid for the video. So I told you guys, they're really good about that. If it's close to the truth, you're not getting paid. God bless you. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
As we mark 3 months since the deadly tragedy in Lahaina.
Participation in the Maui Recovery Fund will be completely voluntary, and the goal is to get as much money as possible to affected families as quickly as possible, cutting out delays and eliminating uncertainty.
Here to react, Hawaii State Representative Diamond Garcia. Diamond, great to have you on the program. I actually have a ton of questions in trying to understand this fund. It's being reported it's a $150 million fund. I've also seen reports that victims could receive up to $1 million each. But that math doesn't add up for me. I know there was 15,000 people in Lahaina, 80% of whom have lost their homes. You know, the math doesn't add up for me. How does this work out for everyone who is a victim of this fire?
Well, good morning, Will, and thanks for the questions. Yeah, first of all, the governor mentioned that those who would be eligible for this fund would be those who lost their family members and or were seriously injured by the fires themselves. So this wouldn't apply to those who were perhaps renters or lost their property, but this was those who lost life, lost family, and they would qualify for this fund.
Oh, I see. And I believe, Diamond, you may have the numbers more updated than I do. The last I heard, the number of dead was around 100, right? So that's where you can get to the $1 million number for these victims. So that makes sense. But also, if you accept this money, then the understanding is then you have basically signed away your ability to sue or to seek damages from anyone who's held responsible for the fire.
Yes. And so that's the contingency with that. If you take this funding, you cannot sue the state, the county, Hawaiian Electric, or Kamehameha Schools, the prominent landowner in that area. So lots of locals on the ground are saying, you know, this sounds like hush money. I mean, why are there strings attached to it? If they were in the wrong, pay us out, but why strings attached? So that raises lots of questions in the minds of local families. And so I've been hearing so far, but also there are those here locally who say this is a great plan, a step forward in the right direction. Yeah,
I would imagine the reason for those who might be pleased with it is it would be fast-tracked as compared to a lawsuit. So you're telling me there's a bit of a mixed reaction within the community as to whether or not this fund is something that they should choose to participate in?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. So I want to ask you as well about housing. So, you know, I happen to know as well that over the last couple of months, we're approaching 3 months, many of the people who lost their homes have been staying in hotels and resorts on, for example, Kaanapali Beach, which is right next to Lahaina. There are not many options for someone who lost their home in Lahaina where they can live. And those hotel stays are coming to an end. I believe there's a sit-in this weekend actually taking place in Kaanapali. What is the current plan? Where are people going to live? What have they been provided for, I guess we'll call it medium-term housing?
Yeah, sure. So as of right now, the governor did say that people won't be removed from hotel rooms, but the mayor of Maui County and the governor's office is encouraging people who are currently in hotel rooms to seek host families or temporary homes for now. And it seems like, you know, they're trying to wean them away from the hotels while West Maui is opened up again for tourism, full blown. So lots of the locals right now are not happy about that. They feel that you know, they're being pushed out of hotel rooms so that tourists can occupy them when they're trying to grieve right now, process the whole thing, and figure out exactly what comes next for them.
But is there another plan? I mean, does the county of Maui, the state of Hawaii, have another plan for where these people can live until hopefully, by the way, their land is cleared and they can rebuild in Lahaina?
Yes, so right now the state and county governments have formed plans, and that would be some temporary housing. They're currently looking at building physical homes right now, but the focus right now for those families is sifting through what's left, removing the debris, and trying to figure out what kind of compensation they are due from their insurance or state agencies. And so that's currently the focus right now. But yes, there are plans for housing, and the governor does have plans to build temporary housing for now.
That's good. Hopefully that's up sooner than later, because I know it's a catch-22. You got to get the tourists back in order to get the economy back, you know, and at the same time the tourists need the housing that the locals need as well. So it's a difficult situation where you want to have a home, a job, and rebuild your life there in West Maui. Diamond Garcia, thank you so much.